brand new here, hit that subscribe button. And, of course, you can always hit up the Super Chat. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways if you want. And I could tell you, you can do a little shopping at facebook.com/the SOR Vault in order to pick up your SOR swag. I swear those T-shirts are going to be made anytime. I'm getting frustrated. But we'll get them out there. Thurston Howell III, good to have you here. Say hi to Lovey for us. 30 seconds away. Geraldine Orozco, the spiritual you. And it's been a good night. Been a good night. Except for Team Canada losing. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. This one's going to sting for a year. A year. Oh, Big Rob, good to see you here. John Swan, welcome to the show, man. Welcome. And, look who's here, everyone. Just sneaking in, the lovely and talented Jessica McCreary. Her hair is looking fine. Here we go. Central British Columbia, to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. My next guest has been with us for over 3 years. She comes on every once a month near the beginning for the spiritual you. Yes, it is Geraldine Orozco, the lovely and talented one out of San Francisco, California. She researches the role of DNA as the currency of the past, present, and future, with consciousness as the catalyst. A life-changing experience in 2013 really resulted in the activation of her psychic abilities. In 2017, she decided to undergo some hypnotic regression to try and figure out what was going on. Since then, her life has been dedicated to the dissemination of knowledge of hybridization programs and the correction of the commonly held dogma of the human genetic timeline, historical record, and human structure. Geraldine is the owner of Bay Area Meditation. You can find her at bayareameditation.com, hybridmother.com, and geraldineorozco.com. And soon we're going to have a geraldineanddave.com, only because why not? No, we don't really, but why the heck not? Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we are going to join Shane in Vancouver for The Shift, the SOR Newswire, and the Thought of the Day. Geraldine Orozco, welcome to 2021 on Spaced Out Radio. We love it when you are here. Thank you for joining us once again.
Hey, Dave, and all of you guys, all you listeners out there that have tuned in, how are you? Happy New Year to you guys. It is such a thrill to be here once again. We made it, and we're getting ready for an incredible year. So thank you, Dave. So happy to be here. And congratulations on so many wonderful things that are happening.
Thank you. And we should make an official announcement that as of tonight, we are adding a brand new affiliate radio station in the United States. We are going to go live here on KBSZ. I want to say Z because I'm Canadian. Okay, KBSZ 97.3 FM, the Rattler in Mesa, Arizona. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio family. We're proud to become part of your family as well. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to share our fun and nightly message with you. We're all about the woo. We're all about the hauntings. We're all about the ghosts, the UFOs, the Bigfoot, the aliens, the Chupacabra. You name it, we're into it. And I hope you enjoy what we do here on Space Out Radio. Give it a couple of weeks. Make sure you get comfortable, okay, because we are a little weird around here, and that's just the way we like it. So enjoy. And thank you for the opportunity at the Rattler. We're very much appreciative of that. And thank you to Chuck Contreras, our syndication director, for helping us grab this station. Len, thank you for bringing us on board. Geraldine, back to you here, because it is that time once again for people who may not know, especially on our new station, KBSC. I want you to introduce yourself. I mean, you are someone who is relatively new to this generation of high strangeness and consciousness. And, for a lot of people, such as yourself or myself who've had experiences, we're just kind of thrown into the mix. And we didn't really expect it to happen, but here we are. How do you feel about that?
It was a major life change for me when I first came into the topic or the field, I should say, the subject matter of interdimensional contact, ET contact. And it was something that, I had been kind of hiding deep within for so many years. And at one point just decided that I had to make a choice, that I had to come out and speak and talk about my personal experiences. Because I was hearing so many people talk about theirs and the fact that they felt uncomfortable to come out in the limelight or share their story, or there was just no space for that conversation to even be had. So to be able to, come out in public and share this story with people was something that really was life-changing. And, it's something that we should talk about. We always talk about how these topics need to be shared. It's important that, experiencers, contactees, people that have had contact experiences feel not only safe, as in any person that has any kind of incredible experience, should always be heard, So if we can somehow support that and open space and educate and acknowledge the phenomena and all the things that come with it, because there's a lot of stuff, there's so much to learn in this field, from consciousness to understanding the science behind it, understanding the psychology behind it, understanding even the physical aspect of it. There's so much to kind of, learn and dismantle on the back end. So we really want to learn about that and share as much as we can with those out there that are experiencing themselves.
Geraldine, for you, how life-altering was these experiences?
Oh, it was incredibly life-altering. I'm a person that I was in the event planning company. I had a company for 12 years, and I also taught meditation on the side. I have 2 companies here in the Bay Area, and I teach corporate meditation. But outside from the normal corporate and just regular basic meditation, it wasn't something that we really took into any of these topics. I mean, I never even spoke the word alien or ET contact before this experience happened to me. And in 2013, just one Friday night, I was awoken to a bright light in my room, my body paralyzed, and I was taken out of my window here in Union City, California, and I was taken on board a craft. And so I was introduced in that process to children that were presented as my own. But the most impactful thing, upon my return, which was literally about 3 hours later, I was upside down on the side of my bed, was that I had been activated with these incredibly powerful psychic abilities that I was not able to leave my house for up to 3 months. It was difficult for me to go grocery shopping or back to my work. So at that point, my mentality is still very human, very earth-like. So the question is, should I call the cops? Should I call the authorities? Who should I involve to help protect me? Or, it's very difficult to merge these 2 realities, one which it seems so fantastic and the other which is your everyday life. So trying to find a bridge, something to gap that, was incredibly difficult, isolating. I had no idea who to talk to. And for many years after that, until 2017, I took it seriously to the point where I wanted to really research, really understand what happened. And hypnotherapy was one of the things that were offered as a possibility to help understand better what was happening. So that's the choice that I made, and it really changed everything. I mean, I sold my business. And I dedicate myself 100% to doing the research behind this topic now.
For you, it changed your entire life. But there's a lot of people out there, Geraldine, who are still struggling to cope with what is happening to them. How does somebody like you at Bay Area Meditation really help them come through these problems that seem so illogical and, wondering why it happened to them?
So the first step for me was trying to, once again, bridge that gap. I mean, you're talking about everyday people that are not, especially for me, for example, I wasn't very heavily influenced or fascinated with sci-fi or, any of that, or comic books or any of these films in the sci-fi category before this happened to me. So it really shattered my reality at that point because I never even considered or thought about it before that moment. And I think that this is true for some experiencers out there, that you want to try to find how can you bridge the gap between knowing that your reality are the things that are around you and what you see and what you touch, what you feel through your five senses, what you're experiencing through those things, and then trying to find a link between these things which are completely non-physical. There's no point of reference in our reality that can help us process that. So that to me is really important. I think education is number one part, but before that, support for that education, which means validation, knowing that what you experience, you're not alone in what you experience, you're not crazy. Because, of course, at first I didn't want to talk about it for years because I thought people will look at me like I'm crazy, I'm going to lose my business, I'm going to ruin my reputation. I thought many times during that year to anonymously write a blog, but, my fiance at the time and my family would say, no, nobody wants to see that. If you link those two, they're going to think something is seriously wrong with you mentally, So I was intimidated by that idea. But I couldn't live having two separate lives, though. That was the problem. Like, I need to have my life integrated. And I know that's true for so many people. Like, they need to have validation for what they experience to know that they're not crazy. And what they experienced is not an isolated situation. I offer support groups under hybridmother.com in which we gather together once or twice a month, and people from all around the world come and share their stories. And what this does is it allows you to listen to other people that are going through what you're going through, and also you recognize some things. It's a wonderful moment of education, of recognition, of acknowledgement. And I think that's one of the most healing first steps for any experiencer out there that's having this incredible experience in their life.
Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine, for you and for people who are new, like our brand new affiliate down in Mesa, Arizona, the Rattler, I want them to know, about the fact that this is more common than what we as mainstream people realize, that these phenomena in consciousness, in ET contact, in psychic ability, personal healing, there is a real reality to all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, as a matter of fact, there have been several studies, historically on controlled groups and trying to understand what this experience is all about. And if you look at the statistics, 15% people, abductees, they claim to have participated in a hybridization program. 15%. Okay, 4 million Americans, they claim that they have had alien abduction. And of those 4 million, 31% claim that they know the purpose of the hybridization program or any kind of connection to this kind of contact experience. Okay, so, those numbers are pretty big. And, these numbers have gone up since this first, survey was done. It was, I think it's called the paperclip survey. I forget the name, but what we're trying to understand is, how immense this actually is, because now we're dealing with thousands of people that connect with me after I launched my website and after we published the film documentary, which I'm a part of, called Experiencer, Extraordinary the Seeding. If you guys want to check that out, it's about the hybridization program. You know, my email is full of people that are emailing me from all around the world that are having these experiences, and so that's what really made me take this a lot serious. You know, more serious than I originally thought, because these are men and women that are actually resulting in PTSD. They're having anxiety. Their entire life is changed. For women, there are results in having reproduction issues and sometimes psychological issues as well, emotional issues. But then there's the other side. Some people claim being healed from illnesses. Some people claim being activated in their psychic abilities. So there's incredible results as a result of this kind of phenomena. And whether it's some kind of global psychosis that we're looking at, or whether it's really something that we're dealing with here with extraterrestrials, I think it's worth the study and it's worth the attention and the conversation.
And it is. And this isn't a subject, for as embarrassing as many people feel it is, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And the one thing that I like about your programs, that you, in the way you deal with people, is you bring them to light that they're not alone in this. And for many people out there, Geraldine, they feel all alone. So how do you combat that loneliness with not having anyone to talk to about these types of phenomena?
Yeah, right. One of the things that we're dealing with in the world globally anyway is that this constant idea of separation. I mean, and it's happening in our reality over the past year stronger than ever. You know, we're being separated in the way that we think, in the way that we look at the world, by our beliefs. So it just further drills in a stigma to topics like this that are potentially fringe or woo, or, you know, not talked about in mainstream. And it makes it very difficult for people to share their experiences. I have, you know, company executives writing me emails, and complete anonymous emails, private, telling me, you know, what they're going through. And they do feel so much shame. They say, you know, I'm so ashamed. I'm so sorry to even say this. But when they start describing their experiences, these are things that I've heard thousands of times from the people around the world, from every single continent. You know, so I think what helps them is being acknowledged for what they're going through, and hearing others share experiences. And what really makes it so fascinating is when they start sharing little details about their experience. I'm talking about the technology utilized in these experiences, the kind of technology that they see either in the craft or in the species that they're interacting with. They are describing species similarly. And we're talking about one person from, I don't know, India, and a person from England talking about the same species, for example. And this has not been happening just recently. This has been happening for years, since the 50s, the 30s. There are records of abductees that have had experience, and they, you know, this is like a process that people go through. So I think the fact, how do we go through that loneliness is, you know, coming to these support groups is important, because you get to hear other people, you get acknowledgement, and you get to understand that you're not alone. And again, what helped me was education. I needed to understand that what I was going through was, you know, the truth about it. You know, and that's why I dove deep into the topic, and it led me to understand not just myself in these experiences, but society, our culture, our government, historically, what's been happening to the topic, why it's been suppressed, why people are not okay talking about it in public, and why the entertainment industry has turned it into this multi-million-dollar, you know, sci-fi field of entertainment that inverts reality in such a way, you know, and really makes us have a stigma. It drills that constant programming of thinking that what you're talking about is something that's complete, not reality, it's fantasy. And that's there's a reason for that. So, you know, this came about from that research and education.
It's also about embracing whom you are.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, like for a lot of people, they have troubles when they go through these scenarios, Geraldine. They have troubles embracing that this is a part of them and that it's okay. So how does one reach deep down inside to gain the confidence that you can continue to carry on even while you're having supernatural experiences?
I think I think the deeper question behind this is also understanding that we're multidimensional beings, and it's something that we have a hard time accepting because we want to take things at face value for the things that are here, physical, tangible. Again, can be processed through the immediate five you know senses. And so it creates kind of like this disconnect, this disassociation when we start touching topics that are outside, that are not physical. And I think that this is actually a part of every human experience. You are more than a human being. You are this spirit, the soul, which is temporarily experiencing the human body. And in that human body, we have the ability of touching the unseen world, which is everything that is behind that veil of our perceived reality. And the entryway into that is from within, right? So when we meditate, when we connect with ourselves, a lot of contactees claim that they have been meditating or they have some kind of spiritual practice or belief as well. And it seems to be a gateway, because the further you go down a spiritual research, a question into your purpose, you're going to be met with consciousness. And there is no limit to consciousness. Consciousness is this infinite life force energy that may manifest in any form. So our parameters of understanding creation and form are very limited, right? So we begin to break these limitations. And I think that that's what these experiences are for. They help break those limited but perceived beliefs that are programmed within us to understand that we are much more than just these physical, tangible human beings.
Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have about 2 minutes left before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour here, Geraldine. For people who are suffering, and we're going to get more into some real cool stuff when we come back for the break, but for people who are suffering from the lack of strength dealing with these subjects, these phenomena, you know, how do they find a proper support group such as yourself or such as other people that you know in this field that really help in almost counseling those who do not know where to turn?
Yes, and that's a really super important question, Dave. I'm so glad you asked it because it's a difficult one to nail down. I'm actually a very skeptical person when it comes to all things. You know, I really need to understand the back end of things. And for me, that was my first question when I first came into the field was, you know, who can I trust? Who can I go to share this story without being ridiculed in any way? And for me, in my personal story, my first step was through MUFON. Okay, MUFON is an organization of research. And I had a friend in MUFON that was able to meet with me, and she took the time to hear my story and understand what had happened to me, because at that point I was very isolated, going nuts, you know, trying to speak to someone about it. So I did find good support in that experience, and she introduced me to other support groups. There are several of them. She introduced me to Misha Johnston, and I do highly recommend her support group. You can check her out at mishajohnston.com. She is a hypnotherapist, and so she does hypnotherapy specializing in phenomena.
Right.
So she's a wonderful place to go to. Are we getting ready for break?
Yes, we are, Geraldine.
Okay.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there
Sure.
because we do have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Once again, we want to say welcome to our brand new affiliate in Mesa, Arizona, the Rattler, KBSN, or Z. The Canadian's going to come out of it. 97.3 FM. We absolutely thank you for being a part of our broadcast. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco continues with us and the Spiritual You next. Why can't you just pronounce it Z or Z like the rest of the world? Son of a gun.
I like Zed. I think you should just stick to Zed. I think we can all get that.
I can't, though. That's the problem.
Really? Why? Did they say it's not like that? They told you they don't want it that way?
I try and get rid of my Canadian accent as much as I can.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Embrace the self. Remember, Dave?
Yes,
like
I know.
Canadian.
I know. We're just those cute little fuzzy things and, fuzzy little neighbors to the north. I know what it's like. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Yeah, one of my listeners, there he is. Mr. Cowley, you're listening to Geraldine Orozco. There we go. Hey, Marty, how are you?
Oh, Marty, shout out to Marty. Welcome.
Yeah. Oh, this is a different Marty, but both Martys would love a shout out. I know the other Marty is listening in. Yes, our favorite veteran, Marty. We have a bunch of favorite veterans around here because they're all our favorites. And
yes.
But Marty Resader down in Vegas. Put your hand up, Marty, and wave for us. Put your hand up. Give us a wave, Marty. We love you. Yes. Anyways. I'm giddy. I'm honestly giddy. I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight.
Well, you've done so much this week. Looks like you've achieved so much.
My entire night turned at 4:15 this afternoon with a phone call from a very, very good source of mine. And I can't be very specific right now. But I've been working on a story for a long time.
Oh, tell me more. How exciting.
Well, I can't right now. And so that ended up, that source, and the worst part about it is my email has been down since this afternoon for like 6 hours now, or about 5 hours. My email has been down. And so I can't get in there, and there's a bunch of emails in there that I need to get to because it literally involves this story that I've been working on. And somehow it ended up having a conversation with Lou Elizondo and him saying, we argued about his beard. Well, I will say that. We argued about his beard a little bit. And it ended up... saying, yeah, dude, I want to do your show. And I'm like, yeah, well, we kind of want to have you here, So, yes.
Wow, that is so exciting. Yes. It'll be great to hear what he brings and what he says.
Oh, yeah.
This is great.
So,
and I think the chemistry between the two of you is going to be amazing, by the way.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think so,
It'll
too.
Be fun to see that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask him a lot of questions that I have. And I'm not going to hold back. Hey, Zenzabil, how are you? I'm not going to hold back, because my audience has wanted some of these questions answered for a long time. 240Z, 260Z, 280. It's 300Z. Yes, that's the way it's pronounced, Human Carl. Zed. Hey, the Ronald Penton. The Ronald Penton, everyone. Raul, it's Zed. Millennium, I will ask him some very tough questions. I'm taking him down a road where no other interview has gone, or at least that I've heard. And we're going to have fun doing it. But I'll tell you, in the 15, 20 minutes that I spoke with him tonight, honestly, he's a nice dude. He really is.
Yeah.
I actually, you know what? Here's something that I am going to ask him, as we got about 30 seconds left, or about a minute. I am going to ask him, because I confirmed with him today. I literally said to him, kind of jokingly but serious, I said, I never thought I would talk to a man in black. And he goes, well, I'm not that man in black anymore. Thank you. We will talk about that on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, Sovereign Farts, how you doing, man? Good to have you here. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
So many questions.
Oh, I know. Right? 20 seconds here. And thank you, Anthony, Cat Chaser. We are the light. Never forget for the super chats. Really do appreciate it. We're going to start the second half hour with the lovely and beautiful hair Geraldine, like right now. Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, way up here in lonely British Columbia, Canada. And we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Once again, we want to say hello to our brand new listeners in Mesa, Arizona on KBSZ 97.3 FM, The Rattler. Welcome to the SOR family, and I hope you welcome us in as well. Thank you for allowing us to earn your broadcasting ears. Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, the Spiritual You. We do it at the beginning of each month just to kind of hang out and find out our Zen, our Chi, and so much more. Her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Geraldine, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We like having you here.
I love being here, and this is going to be an amazing year. Can't wait to get into that a little later on.
Well, we'll get into that later on, but right now we're going to get into some channeling. Because for many people out there, the idea of channeling is grabbing the remote control and flicking the channels on it as fast as you can until you find something that you actually want. Sometimes you got to go around the horn 2 or 3 times, but you finally get there. And so I'm curious, that's not the channeling we're talking about.
That's not the channeling. No, none of that, as a matter of fact. The opposite of that. But yeah, so when we talk about channeling, and I just want to mention that when it comes to channeling, I'm kind of very skeptical of it. I'm very cautious with it. And I think that my true core opinion about channeling is that each and every one of us is perceiving reality through our own filters, through our own experiences, and then therefore everything that does come through is going to come in through that channel. Okay, so sometimes I see channelers bringing in some information, and you do have to be very careful just because of the construct and design of the human being, because we are multidimensional beings, because we are this incredible facet of consciousness, and we are actively, simultaneously living in multiple dimensions in the present moment. We have access to many ranges of information, and some of this information can be lower. Some of these thought forms and information sources can be manipulated. Some of them fall under the range of mind control, whether it's managed through the government or mass media mind-controlling programs. And some of this reaches higher levels, which is when someone is working, developing their psychic abilities, their inner connection, their self-awareness, they open up a communication with their higher self. And so the kind of channeling that I like to look at and kind of acknowledge is the kind where you are connecting with your higher self. And it's not something that's unique to any one person. This is something that we can all do. We reach that channeling by clearing out all the old programs. So that means everything that you picked up from what you're watching on TV yesterday, right? You're clearing your mind, constantly disconnecting from social media, music, all these things are things that I really try to disconnect from so that I can have a pure connection to myself and the information that comes through. And that's what's required. That's what's required because everything that is around us is a vibrational frequency. It's a pattern wave that's encoded with information. So when we're watching TV, we're exchanging and we're absorbing a lot of patterns of information, some of which are subliminal. And because we're only using a very small portion of our brain and our conscious awareness, store all kinds of stuff in the subconscious mind without our awareness. And it isn't until a later moment in time when something triggers that memory that it may surface. So, the mind is a very complex thing. So in order to have clear communication, clear channels, clear messages coming through, we want to kind of go through some kind of a purification process. And I think that this is something that we're seeing a lot more of, and it's been going up like crazy. I mean, that YouTube is filled with channelers from every corner of the world, which, in a way it is good. But again, you got to learn to listen very carefully to the messages that are being said because again, they're going through a filter. And in my personal opinion, what's more important is what you're channeling. What are you channeling? What are you intuitively tapping into and what's coming in for you? So I think this is something that we need to tap into because the process that we go through to get that information is healthy for your mind, body, for the well-being of your entire system, which is physical and non-physical. It's incredibly important to have a clean vessel for clarity.
Okay, so how do you channel?
So when we talk about channeling, it's a communication and connection with your higher self. What is your higher self? The higher self is that, so when you give advice to someone, notice how you kind of just go into this auto drive of wisdom that comes through you. It is pure wisdom. And sometimes you catch yourself in the middle of that advice that you're giving someone and say, whoa, where did that come from? I didn't even know I knew that. But you really tapped into something because you care for this person, because you're able to have a detached, objective look at what they're looking at, what they're experiencing, and provide information from that perspective that's not necessarily emotionally entangled in what they're going through. And that really helps you, that very specific point helps you channel in pure information. We channel that information, if you look at the multidimensional body, coming in from the 8th, 9th, 10th, up to the 13th chakra. That's the 13th dimensional timeline that we are moving in and out of all the time. We tap into these layers of information that we move information into the body and through us. So that wisdom is available to us at all times. The majority of us are not even tapping into the 8th or 9th, okay, because we're so underdeveloped, because we don't take time to activate our intuition. Some mystic psychics, they're kind of in the 8, 9, maybe 10. And that's when they're tapping into the Akashic records, into the, let's call it the DNA of the earth, of the world, all of the records of all the things and the information and wisdom that's been circling the globe for centuries, right? We tap into that. All of that is encoded in your DNA, actually. But you have to activate that through the activation of your intuition, through a purification process, which means that you're clearing out false programming, societal programming, emotional programming, fears, limiting beliefs, all of these things that limit pure thought and expression are going to limit that connection and that pure information coming through. So that's kind of how we can start creating a groundwork, for channeling.
Oh, okay, so what's it like to have a spirit enter your body and communicate through you?
So I have experienced that one time, and I don't advise that intentionally. We should never invite something outside of us into our body. Because here's what happens in the law of creation. We live in a universe in which is the law of three, which is the divine feminine masculine unites, right? Positive, negative energy creates this neutral creative life force, which is the sun, right? And we see that in all kinds of different depictions. It's from mystics to religion, to nature to science. This is kind of like foundation of creation of the universe. So in that same way, when we are tapping in to consciousness that is rejecting itself or doesn't want to be aware of itself or is a detached soul from a body, becomes maybe an entity or a ghost or some object here, some spirit, right, out of a connected body. So at any time, the vibrational frequency at which they're at, it's detached from their physical vessel. So we potentially, if we are vibrating at that vibrational frequency of this entity, can pull it into the body. And that's not always great, because you might be depressed, you might be afraid, you might subconsciously be unsure about what you're doing. And so now you invited, because of your vibrational frequency, this being that's in alignment with you, and now it's working through you. So oftentimes these manifestations can cause imbalance in the energetic body. And I have to say that as a pranic quantum energy healer, you have to know that there are side effects to that. You can really throw your entire system off, because if you don't have the consciousness to bring yourself into the present awareness, it can really even take over. And I have seen clients that have developed schizophrenia, bipolar disease because of something like this. So it's very important to understand where your boundaries need to be in that. Now let's take it to the other side. Let's say you're now channeling some high vibrational entity that you tap into, okay? Ultimately, because we are one in the universe, we're one source, one soul, fragmented amongst all of our different souls, right? Everything is a projection of ourselves. So what you're manifesting in your experience, what you're projecting out, what you're tapping into, is really truly ultimately a fragment of your own self. It's the vibrational frequency that you're at right now. So whether that's joy and happiness or fear, that will make you a match to whatever it is that you're going to connect with. So really keep that in mind, because your intention, whether it's conscious or unconscious, is what's going to attract what you're communicating with. So this is really important. So keep that in mind when you're tapping into. And notice if you are kind of sliding or you feel unsure or lost or afraid, immediately you want to disconnect from all of that, because you can really tap into something that you don't want to have in your space.
That is so weird. And I have to admit, I've channeled before. Mm-hmm. That's what kicked it all off for me, which was the beginning of Spaced Out Radio.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and
yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, you go ahead. You're the guest.
No. Well, we're all channelers, Dave, and I'm glad that you shared that with us, because, and I have a question for you. How did it feel when you brought in that, whatever it is that you channeled through you?
Well, I mean, for me it was different, because I didn't know what was going on. And the next thing I know, I have the angel of death telling me how to keep my mother alive.
Wow.
And nine years later, my mother's still alive.
Wow, that's a powerful story. And but look at that. See, we think that we maybe in the present moment we don't know consciously, we don't know what's happening. But your higher self, Dave, your higher self knew what was needed at that moment. And it knew that it needed to connect with something. And it was a match to this entity that wanted to provide information. And ultimately, that angel of death is a projection of your own self. To support the whole, which is you, your mother, your family, the timeline that you're in. All of these things can be corrected by coming into our true self. And maybe you called upon for help somehow, subconsciously, and so it manifested in this form.
Well, what I was told by this entity was that I was not supposed to see him in my mother's eyes. And because I did, he felt he owed me an explanation.
That's amazing. And I think that, with these kinds of phenomena, consciousness will manifest, and our mind thinks that we need to put it through the human filter, right? So because we're seeing this fantastic thing, it has to give us a reason, it has to give us an understanding of what we're doing, but we need that. And look how amazing that it helped form your relationship with this unseen world. I mean, that's a really strong foundation that it created for you.
Well, I mean, it sent me on a journey because, being a former mainstream media journalist, I had all of a sudden a million questions in my head. I needed to make sure that I got them answered. But the unfortunate part about it, and people should know this, the chances of actually getting those answers are slim to none.
Right, and I think it just depends on how much we're willing to search for truth also, because it's very difficult to know what questions to ask. Sometimes we ask the wrong questions, and then we end up with, the end of the road pretty quickly. So I think that it's a process of evolution that's natural to mankind to be able to understand these experiences. And then, like I was saying, they really help define, or perhaps I should say, to erase any definition of what it is to be a human being. We are so beyond just this limited idea of the physical. So it's great to be able to tap into that non-physical. And again, everybody has the ability of channeling. Everyone has the ability of tapping into information. It's your inner wisdom. We do it all the time when we give advice. So imagine tapping into that energy when you're in crisis yourself. What would you give yourself as advice? And this is an example of what it means to love one's self, because when we give ourselves this wisdom, advice, this communication with our higher self, we really give ourselves valuable information, because it's looking at the whole picture. It's taking into acknowledgement all parts of ourselves, not just one selfish side, or not just the ego that speaks up out of fear. So it's very important to tap into that part of you.
Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 6.5 minutes left before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Geraldine, when you are channeling, or you have talked to people who are channeling, do they ever have any physical issues afterwards? I know when I channeled that I noticed a couple of things. The next day it felt like I was hungover because it was very energetically draining. Number two, I had a really sore neck. Don't know why, but a really sore neck. And number three, I was extremely worn out. It felt like I had, been working out at the gym, running on a treadmill for at my side right now, probably about 6 minutes, But
yes,
that's the reality. Yes. Have you heard of,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought in such a very important topic, because this talks about, energetic hygiene when we come into these things. Because when there's an uneven exchange with some of these entities, you have to understand that it's almost like we're in jello. We're moving in jello, okay? Just really quickly have that visual. And it's like everything is energy, right? But when another entity enters your jello and takes more of your jello out of your body, you end up feeling depleted. You end up feeling weak, okay? So this kind of exchange is happening at all times around our body with all kinds of entities and consciousness that we're not aware of. And that's why energetic hygiene is so incredibly important as channelers, which is everyone, as your ability to tap into information. Protection, awareness, and boundaries are very important when you're tapping into anything, and just in everyday life, right? Even if you're going shopping, being aware of your space, being aware of your body, being aware of your emotions, because when we're not aware of those things, that's when I can tell you the multidimensional body is shattered. It has energetic holes all over the place. And so we drain our life force energy through there and we become ill. We become sick. We pull in colds. We pull in depression, anger, other people's emotions, all kinds of things. And we end up at the end of the day super drained. You all know that. You've all experienced something like that at some point. When we talk about channeling, it's the same thing, right? We have allowed something to enter our space or to exchange with something that has drained our energy. It's created an imbalance. So for that, a couple things I'm going to suggest. Grounding when you're doing these kinds of things or experimenting with it. Ground yourself really well in your body. Create protection around your body. So imagine a sphere of light around your body. Make sure there's no openings. And when you're tapping into things, close your first 3 chakras or control your emotions to the point where you're in a state of complete neutrality. Because any kind of emotional input sways the result. Because your emotional input is almost like it's interfering with the purity of any connection that you have. So if you're somehow, without realizing, afraid or doubtful of what's happening, you're injecting that into the experience, and it will create a match on the other side of what's responding to you. So that's really important, and it happens with a lot of people that are just first channeling, and even though it's a very physical thing that we have, it's like it's an effective way to know what you're doing. Some people have to go through that experience to know what they're going through is real. My suggestion is to not go through that and to create healthy boundaries and awareness of what you're connecting with. And ultimately, you don't want to have any kind of physical symptoms like that because you're an infinite source. So anytime that you're tapping into anything draining, you're tapping into parasitic consciousness without knowing it. So always maintain infinite source of light. There's no limitation to your source of well-being. So that has to be really drilled in the mind at doing these things.
Okay. Is it dangerous? Can it be?
It can be dangerous if you are in a state of fear and if you are unaware of what you're doing. Again, I've had clients come to me that have schizophrenia or bipolar symptoms where they have another soul that attaches to them because either they're suicidal, they're depressed, or they're on drugs. Any kind of drugs, alcohol fragments the spiritual body and creates openings and is a perfect host for these kinds of entities to come in and make a nice little cozy home inside of you. And they will make you do things that you don't want to do. They will continue your addiction to things that you're trying to let go of. They will make you have emotions that are toxic, and they will trigger those emotions within you with every opportunity. They will manifest experiences to trigger those things. So it's really important to understand that. If you're in some kind of rut for years that you can't seem to get out of, consider taking a look at that. You know, was there some kind of point in your life where you really had a rock bottom and you potentially brought in something into your space? I work with a lot of people that have had these experiences, and it takes time to recover that. So be careful. Yes.
Okay, but what about negative entities or energy that could come seeping in?
Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. So when we have these breakages in our multidimensional body, these little beings can come in and make a home in your body. And so, again, they create these awful thoughts, they create illness for the body, and they cause a lot of confusion, right? And sometimes we completely end up not even recognizing ourselves, or we have split personalities. Because, you know, this entity wants to take over your personality and so on and so forth. So things like that. So definitely be careful. But again, there's a difference from experiencing this kind of channeling from a place of fear and doubt, and a difference with connecting with your inner wisdom. The channeling that I am talking about and that I invite you to do is connecting with your inner wisdom, because that cannot be interfered with if you understand that you're in charge of your body and your emotions. So it's really important to do that.
And on that note, Geraldine, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because when we come back from the break, we are going to continue talking about channeling with Geraldine Orozco from BayAreaMeditation.com, GeraldineOrozco.com, HybridMother.com, probably another 45 or 50 .coms in there as well. Yes, we love you, Geraldine. Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. All right, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Great. Okay.
Spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer or something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases still out in the SOR Satellite System. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Satellite System.
Stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Sherp, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing.
All right.
And the best way...
I am back, Geraldine. She is not. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave. I'm the guy who hosts this show. Gonna have some water now. Remember, if you got a nice beard, or you're thinking of growing one, or if you are a lovely lady, wants to keep away from split ends, the all-natural Mighty Moose beard oil, your choice, Original or Winter Blend. Winter Blend is my favorite. It really is. All you do, go to MightyMooseBeard.com. You open this up. Give it a little squeeze. All right. A few drops in your hand like so. And then you just massage it in. That's all you got to do. Massage it in. It feels great. And Science Bob is here, everyone. Science Bob. MightyMooseBeard.com. As Corin says, the link in there. Remember, all the prices are in Canadian dollars. All right. Use promo code SOR2019, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be looking fine. You're going to be feeling fine, smelling fine. And it gives a nice little sheen on your beard. Or you just take it, rub it through your hair. Why waste it? Rub it through your hair. It makes your hair feel great. It really does. MightyMooseBeard.com. There you go. Zenzabil, go get it. It's only like $20 spent is like $16 American. So, well worth it. Geraldine is here. Where are you, Geraldine? Your mic's on mute, by the way.
Hi, I'm sorry. I just realized that.
I can tell it's cold there because your furnace kicked on. You know, so it must be about 55 degrees there. And, you know, it's above zero here, just so you know. It's above zero.
Above zero, my goodness. I'm freezing today, and today I think it's actually like 45 right now, so it's pretty cold.
T-shirt weather. Here we go.
No, it isn't. Okay.
My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate earning your listening ears. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Remember to check out your free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Calamanco. Calamanco is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. I also want to say a big thank you to Chuck, our syndication director. Because of Chuck, we have met Len, who runs KBSZ 97.3 FM. We are now, as of tonight, broadcasting in Mesa, Arizona, which floods into Phoenix. It's a great new market for us, so thank you so much for joining us on Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight. The Spiritual You happens at the beginning of each month, where we bring in Geraldine to go over everything from our Zen and our Chi to our abilities to channeling and every extraterrestrial in between. Her website is GeraldineOrozco.com, BayAreaMeditation.com, and HybridMother.com. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much.
All right, right before the break, we were talking about channeling, and you want to get into spiritual resilience in regards to this. What exactly does that mean?
So, something that I have been, so every month I kind of take I guess you can say it's like taking the temperature of the energy that's going on, or the trends that I notice are arising. And I'm very tapped into the kind of things that are occurring in the subconscious mind because of the sessions that I do with clients from all around the world. And what I've noticed and what I've been trying to research more and how this happens, I notice trends periodically throughout the month, throughout the years, where people collectively are going through these phases of healing in certain areas of their life. Some can be, let me give you an example, wounded feminine issues. Okay, so this is either whether you're a woman or a man, any kind of situations in life where you're experiencing an expression of the wounded feminine coming up. So, for example, your inability to surrender to what's happening in your life, your inability to tap into your intuition, to feel vulnerable and to be feeling strong in vulnerability, things like that, for example. So what I'll see is like a big chunk of people that are going through this process, and it's on like every single client during these 2 weeks. And so these trends come and go, and they come and go throughout the year. And I've noticed cycles that occur throughout the year. They have a lot to do with the moon cycles. They have a lot to do with astrology and how celestial bodies move. And I have also noticed impact and influence of even Schumann resonance. So obviously, we're made out of majority percentage of our body is water. So I really strongly believe that there is a major shift in the body emotionally and through the hormone system, in the body that is affected by the movement of these celestial bodies. So when we talk about spiritual resilience, for the next year, this topic has been coming up because what we're experiencing collectively right now, which is a direct result of everything that's happening in the past year, is really an uprising and turning of all the things that we have felt were safe, things that we felt were comfortable, systems that we agreed to, and the way that those systems are running things, which haven't always been productive for us, haven't always been causing ourselves, our society, something good, And so we're really seeing a lot of those things. They're coming up in mainstream, where a lot of things that were hidden are coming brought to light. So what that does is it really focuses and kind of zero points into the ugly things, all of the hidden stuff that we have within us. This is happening globally, and it's happening as above, so below, macro, micro, within, right? So that means that inside of us, we're looking at the dark parts of us, the parts that we haven't been able to clear, to heal over the past 3-4 years, really are coming to a pinnacle point emotionally, that they will really be highlighted this year, triggered by the things that happen. Whether it's an opinion that you have about yourself or something else, it will be really triggered. So when we talk about spiritual resilience, we're talking about your ability to really be clear about who you are, and how you find that clarity is by introspection, silence, and stillness. And in that stillness, learning to sit with the emotions that come up enough to inform yourself on how you need to make positive changes so that when they come up, they don't affect you and pull you into states of mind where you get stuck and go into depression, fear, anxieties, feelings of helplessness, and equip yourself with the tools to navigate when those moments come up. So in the way that you're healing your body, feeling about your emotions, your perceptions of the world outside of you, and learning to go with the flow, moving through all of those things that happen, that whether you're not in agreement with them or you find that there's conflicts in those things, learning to accept what needs to be accepted, with the understanding that what's more important is your emotional well-being and balance. So this is something that is going to be incredibly important for this coming year. And I really invite you all to take some time in the next month to really try to at least figure out what those things are for you. What is your Achilles heel that really gets you every time? And more than likely, this is something that you've been cycling through for the past many years, and it's something that you have a really hard time understanding. I found it in my own life. I found it in the life of my clients, and just having conversations with other healers, they also notice this coming up in their clients. So I'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to comment, you listeners out there, what are you going through, and what is the thing that you have a hard time going through? Because this year we really need to clarify and clear that out once and for all.
Okay, so how do we get to that point in our own body and our own lifestyle in order to manifest that? So
manifest and understand what the Achilles heel is, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of these things are cyclical patterns of behavior. And what it is basically, very simply, what's your trigger? What's the one thing that triggers you every time without fail? Whether it's something your partner says to you, your kids say to you, something that happens at work, what's the emotion? If you take a look at your past week, at your past month, what's the emotion that you most come into? Just that right there. If you can identify that honestly, without trying to, lie to yourself or to kind of hide your real emotion, what is that thing that comes up every time? And you'll notice a trend, that there's an emotion. And if you go even further, you'll notice that this is an emotion that you've been feeling most of your life. This is incredible information because it helps you understand where your mind is at. It helps you understand what your vibrational frequency is, because whatever it is that you're constantly cycling through, that's what is the foundation of your belief systems, right? So in other words, all of the life choices that you're making in your personal life, in career life, are coming from this place. So what's happening there? Sometimes we sabotage ourselves terribly because we are constantly trying to play it safe, or we avoid feeling this emotion. And it really just snowballs into creating a false life in every level, right? So we want to avoid all of that stuff, right? We want to be in alignment as much as possible with what we truly need. So if you understand what that Achilles heel is, what that emotion is, and you find what you need to support that and to feel the exact opposite of that emotion. Think about that. The exact opposite of that emotion that you're feeling all the time. What is that? What do you need to get there? If you just answer that one question, you're going to see major changes in every area of your life, because now you're going to really be supporting a profound part of your belief system, your emotions, and just the way that you carry yourself in the world. And this is little baby steps, how to get yourself into a state of awareness, of enlightenment, of healing. So it's very profound healing. And of course, I do this in my DNA reprogramming sessions. And I have a lot of free content on my YouTube channel that you can check out if you need support on that part. I'm happy to support you. But it's something that you can do, anytime, and just think about. So that's how you would find that. And, finding ways to support yourself in sustaining the opposite of that emotion sometimes is hard, because we got to understand that we've built an entire life around this emotion, okay? Which means that potentially we chose our partners based on this emotion. Potentially we chose where we live, the careers that we've taken, the friends that we have, the habits that we carry throughout our day are all supporting this emotion. So you're going to notice there's going to be a lot of things that might be kind of shifting, crumbling, a little bit of chaos around you until you readjust. But the spiritual resilience comes in that when you get to that point and you start seeing chaos around you, where, let's say, the wife no longer is triggering or that anger in you and you're not responding in the same way that she expects, you keep your ground. You understand you're clear with clarity what your focus is in that change, and just allow the people to adjust as needed. Okay, so there will be an adjust period. And so when that's done, you will begin to see some changes. And it's a beautiful, after that, to see how relationships may flourish, or sometimes, they change. Sometimes things change. So just be aware of that, be prepared, and understand that it's for the evolution of mankind, which is necessary in your home and also universally.
Okay. So what effects does it have on our consciousness, our abilities to think, our abilities to learn, our own spiritual practice that we try to pose on each other?
That is a great question. And what effects does it have? You're from the understanding of what your Achilles heel is, allows you to come into a state of complete authenticity with yourself in your life. why you created it, and the habits that you maintain and support. To me, what is most spiritual is truth. So if you build routines around truth, your body physically, mentally, emotionally can only come into its optimum health. And it's just like draining out a clogged drain. All of the filth and dirt that's been in there sitting for a long time has to be flushed out. And when it's flushed out, it can now move through the body pure life force energy. Our bodies are multidimensional. We have a cord, literally a cord. When I see the multidimensional body, I see a thread of light that goes through the crown of the head, down the spine, down. It's interconnected to all of the chakra systems, energy systems, organs of the body, all the way down into the earth, if you are grounded, connecting and anchoring in the earth. This thread of life is basically what gives life to the human. It is your soul cord. And the size of this cord depends on your spiritual practice. It depends on your focus and the dedication that you take to that building of your self-awareness. The majority of people are walking around with fragmented cords, or such a thin cord that you can barely see it. It's barely like a millimeter. Okay, mystics, psychics have a little bit more, like, a couple centimeters. Some people that are incredibly developed can have up to 5 inches, up to a feet. And people that are really, maybe like, mystics, they have something like 10 feet all around them. Okay, so just to give you an idea of, what it takes to develop that, people that have this cord don't get sick. They don't have illness, they don't have chaos, they don't have any of these imbalances in their life. So what we want to do is, especially at a time when we have something going around, right, without saying anything, we want to build what is called a spiritual immune system, because the body is a holographic projection of the spirit, of the soul. And so in order to maintain health in this physical body with all the organs, we have to have a strong center core, which is this thread of life that moves through us. And that is built through meditation. Through meditation, through introspection, through silence, through that stillness and the discipline of that stillness, where you allow that inner voice, inner wisdom to come in and communicate with you. You understand what's happening within you emotionally, physically. This is the superpower of mankind.
Right.
So, this is what we want to achieve, and this is where the manifestation engine comes from.
Geraldine, I have a question from G Girl in our chat room for you. Mm-hmm. And she is asking, how does one address a person who asks for help from you but continually makes poor choices? And is it my responsibility to let them know that if they show no interest in changing?
Yeah, that's such an important question, G Girl. Thank you so much for asking that, because this is something I get a lot. And what you're talking about fundamentally is free will. You've asked the most important question in spirituality. At what point do we employ free will? At what point do we respect another's free will? And as healers, you're very empathic, G-Girl, so people see that, and they see that you're an expression of that, so they want to mirror that, and they want to learn how you do that in your life. So the thing is, they come to you. People are attracted, and this happens to a lot of empaths, because we are more sensitive, more aware of what's happening around us, so they ask for help. The thing is that, ultimately, what free will means is that every expression of infinite consciousness, that's me, you, everyone here, has a choice what they are wanting to experience during this lifetime. And some people choose a really hard life. They choose a lot of suffering, and they need that in order to work through those processes, in order to understand how to reach that unconditional love through those experiences. And it's the same for everyone. We are all learning how to come in to unconditional love for yourself and all things around you, which is, what is love? Love is not an emotion. We're not talking about partner love. We're talking about creative life force energy. That's what love is. So we come into creative life force energy by understanding your true self. Okay, so every single person has the ability to experience suffering. So if they come to ask for help, some people are addicted to their suffering because it's all they know. They've never felt love. They've never felt compassion from anyone else. So it's difficult for them to recreate that emotion within them and create pathways, literally creating neural pathways in the brain to reinforce love, compassionate experiences instead of suffering and pain. So they have to put extra effort into that only if and when they are ready to do that. So, if this is a person that continuously comes and asks for help and doesn't take action on that, we also have to know when to create boundaries around what we give. Okay, whether you're a healer or just a good friend, and let them know that they need to be able to take, because ultimately we don't even heal other people. I don't heal other people. All I do is hold space for them to heal themselves. And that's what you're doing. So this is all we can do. So sometimes the most compassionate thing to do can be to no longer continue supporting that. It can also be to continue supporting that until she finds her way. So my advice is to trust your intuition in this. Notice if your choice is coming from ego or from fear. Where is it coming from? And choose whether you wish to continue to provide support. And remember that the exchange between that support that you're providing doesn't always have to be so emotionally charged and drained. You are the master of your body. So you have to have energetic hygiene enough to own your space, and hold space for another. That means it's an invitation for you to do the work. Not maybe she's not coming for her. Maybe it's actually for you to learn how to hold powerful space. Just as an example. So there's some things that you can kind of look at and see what feels good for you.
Okay, so should we put ourselves in those situations, though? Okay, I have, been in that situation. I think we all have, where we have that one or two friends that every day or every second day they're on the phone talking to you or texting you. I need advice on this. I need advice on that. And you give them the best advice, and they thank you for it. You hang up the phone. You're feeling great. And within days, they've gone and done the exact polar opposite, made that trench of negativity even deeper. And then they come to you running, well, what went wrong? I don't know what went wrong. And you want to cuff them on the side of the head and just say, did you not listen? Why didn't you listen?
Right.
Yes, we all
absolutely.
have that. But for people like me, that causes anxiety. That causes depression. It causes unnecessary stress. How do we get rid of that stress when we want to help our friend and be that good friend that they should be?
Amazing question. And here's the thing, though. What we have been programmed in our society is these ideals of what it is to be, number one, a healer or a good friend or a helper, okay? And the ideas that have been provided by society, you have to understand, are created by society for a certain reason. So when we look at our personal lives, a lot of us are no longer operating by those societal pressures. We have now gone into a more authentic way of living, can recognize that the moment that we have an opportunity to provide support for someone else, are you doing it from a place of serving and not ego? And how do you define that? So your ego, if you are having emotions of feeling not good after they have chosen something different, it means that we literally were invested emotionally somehow or energetically somehow in the result of this information that you provided them. And unfortunately, that's an exchange that's actually more self-serving than it is neutral. well, and it's something that will cause you pain and suffering and harm. So the idea is
Geraldine,
that,
hold that thought.
yeah,
We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Caught up on us. Spaced Out Radio with Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You, which happens here at the beginning of each month, continues right after this. The mighty SOR. You know, as I write my autobiography, that this entire subject is what chapter 2 of my book is about.
oh my gosh, that's so great. Well, I'd love to hear what you talked about, because that's such an important topic, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it is there, and I got to admit, I was railroaded by that person.
I can imagine, yeah.
Not on purpose, but because, like, it was every day, like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 text messages a day.
Oh, my goodness.
And, hey, Solar Warden, how are you? And it was, yeah. It was,
wow, that's pretty huge.
It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And to this day, I am still emotionally bothered by it.
Wow.
And I haven't talked to this person in April. It will be 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry you experienced that. I mean, there has to be some healing and closure, after you go through such a powerful thing like that, because you gave a lot of energy, you gave a lot of yourself away.
If the worst part about it was, in that situation, I had seen everything, seen it all, and I knew where the tide had shifted.
Yeah.
And I realize I'm being vague here, okay, but I had manifested my best friend, who used to be a hostess at a famous mansion in California, that she was going to get together with a certain rock star. And I'd seen it all. Like, psychically, intuitively, I had seen it. And one night she was in Vegas, he was in Vegas, and she was there with another male friend. They weren't dating, they were just kind of hanging out. And Rockstar texted her and said, I'm at this certain hotel, come meet me. And so she phones me, says, what do I do? I said, you go. I said, this is the path you wanted. This is what's been manifested. You go. And she decided not to. And 8 weeks later, he met his now wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
but,
I had
wow.
seen the
What do you think about that?
I had seen the engagement ring. I had seen everything. And it was like watching this as clear as day. I go into more detail in the book if I ever get it finished. I know I'm through 8 chapters.
Wow, great.
But it's just something that I saw the engagement ring. I knew it was supposed to be for her, except when she did not go meet up with him because she thought, she had that attitude, I have to play it cool. And
right.
And yeah. And apparently I'm stuck on the word "and" right now.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? And I'll talk about that when we go live in a minute. But, it's a dilemma when you know so much, or when you're psychic, when to give the information. When does it actually help someone? And at the end of the day, it's free will. So they have the choice. Even if you tell them all the truths, there's nothing you can do.
I hear you. I hear you. And, the other day, out of the blue, I haven't heard from this person in almost 2 years. And about a month ago, I get a text message from her.
Wow.
And I so wanted to say, what the hell do you want? you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That's
so
powerful. Is it because you were writing it in the book?
no idea. No
Wow.
idea.
That's amazing.
So,
Well,
a
it's
certain
probably an opportunity to
yeah.
heal that part, Dave.
No, not ready yet. Not ready.
No?
Too angry. Too angry.
Oh.
Anyways, Michael Boyle, thank you for the super chat, man. Really do appreciate that, and your continued support of this show. And if you hadn't heard the news, probably within the next few weeks, we will be lining up a date with Luis Elizondo on Spaced Out Radio. I had a phone conversation with him today, and that kind of happened out of the blue, and we're going to line that up. Thank you, Michael, Science Bob, Anthony, Cat Chaser, and We Are the Light for the Super Chats. We're going to get going here in 5 seconds. Hold on tight, everyone. The halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Dave Scott is here. That's me, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Welcome to tonight's show. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You from San Francisco, California. Geraldine joins us as her websites, BayAreaMeditation.com, GeraldineOrozco.com, and HybridMother.com. We got them all in there. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We were talking about putting energy into people who may not use it correctly. Does this mean we should give up?
No. In fact, here's the thing about psychic abilities and gifts, right? Because we all have them. Remember, all of you are psychic. You have some kind of ability to tap into this wisdom. Comes the law of free will, which means that every single person has the choice to choose what they wish to do with the information, with opportunities, with life experiences as they want to. And this law is incredible, and it is the one thing that sustains the light working in the way that it's working in our universe, the balance. Right? Because without that law, imagine the kind of imbalance that there would be. Because parasitic consciousness would take advantage, would take control of the other. Now, there is still that ways that the parasitic consciousness can take control of another, and it does so by acting on the unconscious of any soul, right? So, and that includes us. So when we don't know that we have free will, we can become hosts to all kinds of parasitic consciousness at any given time. So the important thing to understand by that is that we are provided with infinite wisdom, infinite knowledge, and with that comes a responsibility to know that we have to maintain balance with how we give to others. Anytime that we expect anything at all, whether it's a thank you, an acknowledgement, that's the ego talking. The ego wants to be fed an acknowledgement of the fact that we gave information, or we had the ability to do that, or we have this wisdom. Even if we see everything in detail, step by step, what will happen to this other person, we have to understand that if we are asked to give that information, always have to give information when you're asked, not when you're not asked. Remember, because that's an intrusion. And this is something for psychics out there and energy healers. And it's something that I learned early on in my healing, to know that you can never tap into any other person's body or information without their permission, right? So remember that. Those are laws of exchange, and you want to respect those because other people will respect those on you as well. You don't want people tapping into your business without you actually wanting to. So this is the same for the other way around. If they ask you for help and you provide them with accurate information and they don't follow it, that's their journey. And you never know why that happens. You know, maybe they didn't feel like they were worthy of choosing what the information you gave them, that timeline. What you're giving them is a timeline. If they don't choose the timeline that you offered them a glimpse into, it means they're not ready for that. So we have to be compassionate enough to let them live what they need with what they have. And you are complete. You have not lost anything. You have not gained anything. You are infinite consciousness that is here for that gift of vision. Okay, and we grow and we strengthen that vision constantly with the use of that intuition. So it doesn't mean stop giving intuition and advice. It means continue growing, developing, nurturing, loving, and being compassionate of yourself and others, because the moment you start feeling bad about yourself, you're going backwards, right? So that's a really great question. Thank you so much for asking that.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate. Like for me, if it's somebody who has an alcohol problem or a drug problem or something along those lines, I think we all fight because it's survival. It's humanity. Like I know with my nephew who passed away 2 years ago from fentanyl. Okay, we fought to keep him alive. And unfortunately, and he fought as well. He took the advice and he fought as well. Unfortunately, the demon got him, which is going to happen every now and again, as sad as it is to say. And we're still destroyed by that as a family. However, when it comes to a personal friend and emotional problems, there, to me, is a major difference in how we deal with it because, you know, we want our friends to trust us. We want them to love us as we love them and we care about them. So is there a difference between, say, a physical type of trauma like drugs or alcohol comparatively to an emotional trauma regarding, say, intuition and, you know, giving sage advice only to have it kicked back in your face?
See, the thing is that the information that we give off as a psychic, is one of many potentials, of infinite potentials. We think that the information we give is the absolute end all, right? And even though what you give may manifest itself in reality, the law of free will allows that person to choose what they wish to experience as a soul. We wouldn't want to be tied to a certain way of living. Like in the case of yourself and the nephew's life purpose that was chosen was for him to experience that fight and him to experience that end. Okay? Your engagement in that was for you to experience that fight and you to experience that loss. And you grew from that. Your family grew from that. He grew from that as a soul, as a spirit. And you guys are never separated because, again, you have to remember, we are one. We are one. So everyone is experiencing what's necessary from their part that they're playing in the picture of the whole. So wisdom is understanding that we have to allow every person to have their own journey. We are gods and creators, but we cannot impose our beliefs of what's right and what's correct on anyone because that would be unfair. And it's self-serving because the ego feeds off that. You see, you really have to see what part of you thrives off being right or even having someone listen to us. And that's the part that needs to be nurtured and cared for and compassionately told, you are so deeply loved. And even though someone didn't hear you, you're still, you are acknowledged and your information is correct. It's correct. All of your information is correct. So that's the worthiness that has to be born from that experience within and strengthened. And as a psychic, I completely understand, sometimes we see people fall. It's like watching our own children, slip up time and time again. But sometimes that pain and suffering is actually the most compassionate thing that could happen to that person, because imagine when they reach that rock bottom, when they lift themselves back up, imagine how they will have grown from that experience. And I can say from my own life, I've gone through a lot of suffering and pain, and through that made me who I am today. I would never take anything away. So we are all, it's like a palette of colors. We have to experience everything. And again, it's just experience. There's this new film out called Soul. Have you seen it, Dave?
Not yet. I've heard some great reviews on it, though.
It's beautiful. And I really highly suggest, what I loved about it, and it's so pertinent to what we're talking about today, is the idea that the soul comes into the physical body uniquely to experience things. It experiences emotions, sensations, all of these experiences that are happening around us. And that's what makes the human experience so special. It's just that experience. But the problem is we categorize things in black and white. We think this is right, this is wrong. And we have to remember that our perception has been greatly, greatly programmed, and a lot of times indoctrinated with things that are actually the inversion of divine truths. In nature, in order for balance to be maintained, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of destruction. And it's part of what makes this whole beautiful. It's an orchestra, so we just play the part that's necessary without damaging ourselves. How do we damage ourselves? With negative emotions, with feeling bad about ourselves. So we have to play our part of that orchestra. The orchestra within us has to be harmonious, happy. I don't want to say happy. It's harmony, authenticity, truth. It's like your highest expression.
I can see that. I can see that clearly, but the emotional baggage that you carry around, if I can use it as that way, it carries on forever. I mean, especially if this parts ways in a friendship, because we can only take so much as humans. And if we make that decision to part ways, we still may not be over the energetic drain that it caused it, especially if the person, say, all of a sudden sends you a text after a couple of years, just to say hello. I mean, I've had that happen, and it immediately reset me to everything that I hated about this person.
So the thing is that, if you do a deeper introspection of this emotion, Dave, what we'll find is that the emotions that we feel, or we think we feel them towards the other person, might actually be emotions that we're feeling towards ourselves. Why? Because we have betrayed ourselves. We didn't stop giving our energy. We weren't aware of when we should have created healthy boundaries for us. We kept depleting ourselves over and over again. We kept overgiving. And that's an expression of our own need for something, or our own imbalance within us that needed to be fulfilled in that moment. So that really has to be looked at. And because remember, we are the only providers of everything we ever need. We can never depend on anyone else to give us anything, and nobody ever will give you anything. Everyone must understand that. You have to provide yourself with the love and the gratitude and the acknowledgement that that person did not provide with. And this happens to every single person. Every day of my life, I run into someone that is stuck in this place where we have so much anger and resentment because something didn't pan out the way we expected it to. For me, I've noticed over the past couple of weeks, the topic of expectations. Where are your expectations? Are you putting expectations in people that don't have the tools to provide you with what you're asking? Does that person even know what it means to love themselves and to choose right for themselves? Have they ever had an example of that in their life? If they haven't, how can we possibly put them against the wall and be like, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do? And this is an example of compassion. Like, we have to be compassionate to recognize that. And when we do, we act on it. And that means sometimes pulling away. So it's super, super important to have that awareness. And it's part of the healing and experience process. And part of the laws of being a psychic. knowing when that exchange has to end. How do we avoid coming into that again? Is by really, really practicing our intuition and always maintaining energetic boundaries. Ultimately, it's ourselves that has that responsibility.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree with the self-blame on that. To me, and maybe many others out there, and I could be reading this completely wrong, but I mean, because we all have issues, we all have drama, we all have these psychic cords that we continue to hold on to and embrace that eat up a lot of storage in our own bodies. But I do have to, maybe disagree with you a little bit on that, because, as much as we can try to alleviate the situation, whether it's moving, finding new friends, whether it's, trying to find anything that will take us to that peaceful level, it doesn't mean that we've been able to release the pain from it that was caused. And I think that's where I'm having troubles understanding, because I think for a lot of people, when we give our bodies and our minds and our souls to help someone that we love, care for, and help nurture as friends, that we want to be able to give it our all, just like we would expect from them. But usually it's never reciprocated.
Yeah, and I would love to go into that further, deeper, to more intimate parts. If we were working one-on-one, we would. But the thing is, it's a deconstruction of understanding of where that pain is arising from and what's triggering that pain, really. Because it's a moment of acceptance. There has to be a point, and remember that suffering is always a choice. Especially in this case, it's a choice. You can continue to feel suffering, sorrow, sadness, loss, or you can shift that around, because what matters more to you is the well-being of your body, of yourself, of your present moment. And I think that's kind of like the demonstration that we want to try to reach, is this embodiment of unconditional self-love, where we say, no, I do not accept myself coming back into this feeling of suffering again. Why? Is the other person suffering? They're great. They're having a great time. But we're over here suffering. So, doesn't that defeat the purpose of the incredible gift that we came into? And it can even develop into resentment of our own gifts, and what a blockage that would create, because it would really create a loss in our life. And then we're going to need the support and healing at that point. So I think that, it's important to keep flushing experiences. Remember, we should never get stuck in anything. Experiences are going to come and go. It's how we manage them, how we handle them in the emotional body. The most important thing is compassion to this physical vessel, that we keep putting anger, resentment, in the body. Poor body, it's suffering a lot, so it's good to be compassionate of that.
Okay, so what's the difference between compassion and being thankful for the experience?
Compassion and being thankful for the experience. So I think in order to be grateful for the experience, you really would have had to understand the lessons that arise from that. And you would have had to reach some kind of closure. You reach the closure by applying compassion. Okay, so compassion is what you need to apply into the body in order to release these stagnant emotions and beliefs that are continuing to cause pain and suffering within. Because, it's two separate things. And I guess the gratitude for the experience would come after that process. Because then you will have full circle closure, understanding the role that you played in that experience and the role that the other person. Because how do you know at the end of this life, you can review the life and notice that maybe she was the one teaching us a lesson. Maybe she was the one that taught us something that really shifted our life, the way we looked at ourselves, the way we give advice to others, and what a gift that has been, because it taught us how to create boundaries now moving forward. So I think it's just looking at many different perspectives. See, there's not just black and white. Everything has hundreds of perspectives. And the more perspectives that we can be aware of, the more wisdom we gain through that one experience. It's a wealth of wisdom, wealth of learning. And but from that point, the application of those lessons is what will really change our life moving forward. And that's when it becomes gold. It becomes valuable. It's invaluable, really.
Right. We've got about 4 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. At the top of the hour, Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation is here tonight. And Geraldine, we also have to heal ourselves, because how do we drain ourselves from emotional stress that comes along with trying to help people?
Absolutely. Such a good question. And this has to do with energetic alchemy and the balance of how we give and receive. And, helping other people can be something very simple as smiling to someone, or it could be, really like helping someone move out of their house, moving to another country, like, these big things. So how we exchange with someone always has to be balanced and from a place of non-ego, again. So that means that you're not doing it to get a thank you. You're not doing it to be loved, which is the majority of a lot of us. At the root of all the things that we do, it's in order to be loved. And I see this in my sessions every single day. Resentment with parents, resentment with siblings, colleagues, all kinds of things that went wrong because there were expectations of being acknowledged, loved, seen by something outside of us that didn't deliver. And so now we have created a definition of ourselves as being unworthy and not good enough. So this is where we have to start clearing that. And how do you heal that is by understanding what the exact opposite of that belief is. So if you feel that you needed to be loved, look at the other person. Notice them. Does that person love themselves, first of all? Does that person have the tools to know how to love themselves? If the answer is no to any one of those questions,
right,
why would you ever expect from another person? Do we need to go to break?
No, we got about 2 minutes. But what about what about trust?
In who?
Well, just in general, as you were going on about love, trust would be added to that conversation as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, because, well, you got to look at the root. The root of trust. In order to trust anything, yourself or someone else, you have to love yourself. Love is not just an emotion. I'm talking again about this creative life force, this balance within you, this acknowledgement of what you are and what you aren't, and still accepting yourself fully for that. So if you're in that state, you now trust yourself because you know yourself so profoundly. This is where we need to get to, people. We need to get to this state of unconditional, unwavering self-love, because it's the foundation of creation, of health, of everything. So when we're there, we know what trust is. The majority of us, we don't even know what that is. We see what it is on TV. We see what they say it is in books. But have you really truly felt love? Trust and love. Both those things need a certain level of complete surrender, blind surrender. And that surrender is an expression of your feminine. Okay, so the balance within you that is sustaining these two pillars of your expression, feminine, masculine, right? This is necessary within you. And so you can reach those parts by noticing where you have pains of traumas of the past and beginning to look at what you need to complement that. If you need more love, you have to love yourself. You have to support yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to do all those things to yourself first in order to even recognize them. Sometimes some of us are so covered in pain that we can't even see that other people are actually maybe giving that to us. And it may not come in ways that we see on TV or that we've been programmed to think it has to come through. It's a complete redesigning of beliefs that has to occur. And the only way we do that is through our own personal experience and introspection, because everyone is here to experience things in such a beautiful range of different ways and varieties, So that's the human race.
Geraldine, I'm going to get you to stop right there because we do have to go to break at the top of the hour. But when we come back, I want to ask you about addiction to drama, because I think that's the next step. And we got a lot more to deal with Geraldine Orozco in hour 3. Then we're going to join Vancouver, go right across Canada with the shift, the SOR Newswire, the thought of the day, a jam-packed hour 3 next on Spaced Out Radio. Beautiful show so far. Beautiful show.
Yeah, it's such a great topic. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you for being awesome. I will be right back. I'm just going to run my dogs outside.
Okay.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
On the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Chirp, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange...
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave. All right. How's everybody in YouTube land tonight? Dave's back, but he can scroll back and see the comments. Well, let's see here. Fapster, you're on a roll tonight. How much Aqua Velva have you drank? Hey, Brian, how are you? John Swan, good to have you. We got 90 seconds. And I'll guarantee that Geraldine is sitting there listening to this with her mute button on her microphone.
Dave, just got back, listening to you from afar. I'm here.
Awesome.
I am listening.
Excuse me. Let's see here. Where are we? We got about 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay.
I'm excited. All right. 30 minutes left with you. I'm pretty pumped up.
All right. Went by so fast.
$20 seconds. $10 seconds.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Radio, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. And we want to say hello to all of our brand new listeners on KBSZ. I went to say Z. KBSZ 97.3 FM, The Rattler. We appreciate you joining the Spaced Out Radio family. Thank you so much. Trust me, being Canadian, I always say Z, not Z. I am getting better, though. I am getting better. We also want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kalamanco. Kalamanco is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Geraldine Orozco. The Spiritual You happens at the beginning of each month, where we find our Zen and our Chi, and we're going through it big time tonight with Geraldine. Her websites, hybridmother.com, GeraldineOrozco.com, and BayAreaMeditation.com. I need her to rebuild SpacedOutRadio.com. I don't know how she does it, but she does. She's amazing. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hey, happy to be here again. And yes, I can build your website anytime.
Oh, I love you.
Really?
I love you.
Very serious.
We need to talk.
Yeah.
We need to have serious talk then. I love the comment from Cat Chaser in the chat room earlier on. She's like, with this show, I really feel like I need to be paying Geraldine with all this information.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes.
I'm so happy it helps in any way. You are so loved. Thank you.
All right. So right before the break, we were talking about the spiritual imbalance that we sometimes get when trying to help others, namely friends, and the conversation just kind of took off. And we're going to continue it right there where, a lot of people out there, they're spiritually, they're emotionally, they're physically addicted to drama. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. It could be on Twitter. It could be on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or in their personal lives, where they work. There's always drama surrounding us, people nitpicking and talking behind each other's back. And we all do it. It doesn't matter what your faith, what your religion, whatever you believe. We all seem to want to get involved with some sort of nitpicking and drama-type talk. I like to call it the juice. What's the juice going on? Right? Right. And
yeah.
But here we are. I mean, it's emotionally draining. And yet we're all taking that spiritual dive into it. Why?
That's such a great question. Well, here's the thing. What I have noticed through my own personal healing journey is questioning the exact same thing. It's like there was a point in my life where I continued seeing chaos being created around me, in my company, in my work, with my clients. And the thing was, one day it came to such a point, and I just sat down crying, and I was like begging. I was like, universe, why is there always so much problems? Why isn't there peace? And, with further introspection, this is way years later when I started to understand really, how we end up being in these places. I really began to notice and question what part of me needed to have and experience that kind of chaos in my life. And what I realized through stillness, one of the most beautiful, powerful things that stillness taught me was that our human bodies, in this physical body and the human experience that we're in, we are kind of trained since childhood for stimulation, and the stimulation can be emotional. It's a stimulation to experience anything, whether it's emotion, whether it's seeing something that will cause you to react and respond in some way. Sometimes even just the mental process of having to come up with a opinion or judgment on something is a stimulation that we are deeply, deeply addicted to. And when you remove that, imagine what you would be like as a human if you would just remove that stimulation part of you. What would you be? What would there be left? You would be numb, you wouldn't have emotions, you wouldn't have experiences, and therefore the expression of this infinite consciousness in its opportunity to experience becomes stifled, right? Because now it doesn't have the ability to understand and experience contrast, the difference between happiness, sadness, pain, and joy or bliss. So this is a part of this construct of this dimensional plane, 3/4 dimensional plane that we're existing in. But what happens to humans is that we become addicted because that becomes all we know. And in the same effect as it provides experience, it pulls us away from the deep awareness of what we are, which is that, but also this incredible soul that is also non-physical. It is this infinite wisdom that we have encoded within our DNA of experiences, of memory that comes in ancestrally through our bloodline, through our lineage, that we've been reliving on this planet Earth through stories, through societies, through religion, through culture. All of these things that kind of inject into our subconscious mind beliefs. So this human experience in this temporary body is in order to be able to experience those things, but know that they are temporary. We don't want to get stuck in any one of those things, because the moment we do, we stifle our growth. We stifle our ability to experience the other side of that contrast. And the majority of humans have been told that we have to be in constant state of survival, constant state of pain, suffering, in poverty, spiritual, mental, financial, in so many different areas that we have been indoctrinated in many ways to think that that is what the human experience is all about. But when those of you that have woken up, already so many of you that realize that life is not that, it's actually attaining this bliss, attaining this ecstasy, in spite of all of those things, because we understand that they're temporary experiences and they're only there to teach us lessons and help the soul evolve in some way. And the soul evolves collectively through every one of us that have experiences. We're learning as one whole organism. So that's what we have to keep in mind. And that's actually the bigger picture of this, because the drama is always going to be there. And the drama is a reflection of the inner drama. It starts inside, right? Because everything is based on holograms in this reality. You are a hologram of your origin point in this universe, which is interconnected with all living beings. Your experiences are a hologram of everything that is within you, within the construct of your belief systems. So we have to start filtering out the belief systems that are causing a holographic projection of suffering and pain, and you become this resonance vibration to that suffering and pain in your love life, in your work, and all these things. And even with yourself, you become your worst enemy, basically. So that starts with you and it ends with you. So the moment you start to detach from that idea that you have to continue to be excited or having the sensation of pain, of suffering all the time, even when we finally find breaks or exciting things, some of us can't even take those things and run because we're so used to the comfort zone of suffering and pain. So imagine that, our poor humanity, our poor souls, that we just need to understand that if only we could just lift our heads from looking down at this tiny little hole of perception to the bigger picture, you would just easily be able to make the choice. I rather choose that joy instead of that suffering. So that's a choice that we have to make every moment, guys. And, thank you for that question. I hope I answered it.
It is about release. It is about being able to cut those ties, cut those cords, those life cords that seem to hold us back. And so once we cut them, what happens?
Right. So it's a redefinition of patterns of experience. And really, we're talking about brain, it's like these neural pathways that we have built based on that suffering. So the moment that you break a habit and you start replacing the old habit of suffering with a replacement of either neutrality, which means that you're disconnected and you have no expectations of what's going to happen. You're disconnected from any kind of expectations of emotions or results. That's when you're in a place of flow. That's when you're in your highest power. That's when the highest creative life expression can be had. This is not just physically, but energetically, anatomically in your body, chemically in your body. Your body is in a state of creation because everything is in harmony. That's when we come into our superpower bodies. And that's where we can start flowing, where we start manifesting abundance, love, all of our dreams. Okay, and I know this because I've experienced it myself, and I've gone through highs and lows of this. I understand sometimes it's more abundant, sometimes we're less. It's all a part of that evolution. So ebb and flow, guys, just continuing to move through those experiences without getting stuck on anything, and savoring, understanding that even that suffering, we can get something from it temporarily, but then just not having to hold on to the suffering in the body. Okay, let me just quickly tell you, how do you release emotions that are stuck in the body? So let's say you're holding on to a lot of anger. You have it in your belly. Now, we'll talk about this in another episode, but the parts of the body store emotions, and certain organs store specific emotions. So for a lot of us, feelings of anger live in the solar plexus. That's your belly area. So it causes indigestion, it causes stomach problems, digestive problems, problems with your spleen. So these are the results that manifest on the physical form when we continue to hold on to these heavy emotions. So how do you get rid of it? You observe it. It's that easy and sometimes that difficult, okay? So feel the emotion in your body. You're going to observe it, which means that it's going to intensify. And when it intensifies, a lot of us, we tend to want to run away. We want to divert our attention to something else, or we want to run away by stuffing it down further and just ignoring it. But it doesn't go away because energy it doesn't disappear, it doesn't eliminate, it only reallocates. So by your attention on that emotion, you have the ability of observing it. And when you do that, you come into this second mind that is now looking at your body from the outside in at how you are responding to that emotion. What you'll notice is after looking at it, the emotion, you'll notice it'll gently begin to dissipate. And that's what emotions are for. And what will arise in your mind is other thought forms, words, key terms that will help you understand why you're feeling that emotion. Okay? And so when those terms come up, you will have understood this is how you process the emotion, and it'll leave your body. So every time you come into emotion that feels sticky and you can't remove out of your body, you can't shake it, watch it, and it will. And after that, after you exercise this ability to process emotions properly, you take what you've learned from that emotion and you now turn that into wisdom by applying it to your life. What do you need? What do you need? So you felt anger. It said resentment. Now it said, not feeling good enough. Okay, how do you feel good enough? You provide yourself with the tools to do that. And so this is how you start reconstructing your life. What you're doing in that moment, you're literally breaking a pattern. You have recreated a neural pathway from the one that wants to feel the anger all the time, sending all those chemicals and electrical signals through your body, into another one that now says, instead of feeling angry, I'm going to do something constructive. I'm going to feel peace, balance. I'm going to let go. I'm going to be in a state of neutrality. You've rewired your brain in that moment. Okay? So you continue doing this. Imagine where you would be. And a lot of us are cycling through cyclical ancestral programming. So that means in your family, the majority of them are dealing with one main issue. It could be anger or resentment towards the divine feminine, or resentment towards, religion. It doesn't matter. Like any one of those things, it can manifest, and it's going to be a cycle that keeps popping up in your life. And until you resolve that, you're going to keep calling those experiences into your life. So the sooner you deal with that, the better. The better for you and the better for healing.
What about anger?
Yeah, anger. Anger is exactly the example that I was giving. And anger is something that is a lot of the times our inability to accept, denial. And a lot of the anger that we feel, that we think we're feeling externally, actually circles back to anger that we feel towards ourselves. And that's actually the same for a lot of emotions, okay? Because at the root of all emotions is fear, okay? And you can sit and analyze that as much as you want. The root of these emotions is going to be either fear or love, right? All these negative emotions end in fear. All the positive emotions end in love. So, to simplify this practice, choose and question yourself. Am I coming from a place of fear? And if so, what do I fear? Is it true that I should fear that? Okay. Am I coming from a place of love? And then what do I need to support that?
Makes sense.
Because a lot of times, Dave, another thing that happens to us is that we don't even know our emotions in such a profound way that we think we're loving, but in fact, it's a survival mechanism. So instead of actually, when we think we're doing something good, it ends up hurting people and then causing chaos in our life, for example. And we're like, why does that happen? I keep doing something good. But in reality, the subconscious belief was either to receive love from someone else. And so every time it happens, it causes us chaos because our belief is that we're expecting something in a certain way and it doesn't happen. So we have to see that actually that action was not based in love. It was based in need. It was based in fear. It was based in the belief of separation, being separate from something, from yourself more than anything. So, these are the things, these little inversions that we get totally lost in, that we need to begin correcting. And this is totally the year for that. It's kind of manifested itself externally on a larger scale as a whole race, and it's something that we need to deal with internally.
Okay, manifestation can bring upon positive or negative, though. How do you steer it towards one or the other?
That's such a great question. And it's kind of the same laws of creation that we were just talking about, because the manifestation is a tricky thing. It's based on our subconscious beliefs. So if our subconscious deep, deep beliefs are actually that we fear or we doubt our abilities, for example, but on the outside we have this happy face and we're like, thinking that we're being so proactive, our actions are always going to be guided in a misdirection because the real belief is that we're not good enough. So then we're manifesting from that place instead of the other. And this is something that we need to re-educate our society in, because very few of us recognize this. Very few of us actually take this seriously and really live our lives from a place of authenticity, because we're so used to wearing masks in order to be loved, accepted, all these things. So that has to be because what manifestation is about is being in alignment with your true core values, your true core needs. And the majority of us haven't taken time to define them. We have to define them. And when you do, you're going to be able to see what really is something that's in alignment with you and provide yourself through that. And it might not look the way that entertainment industry is drawing it out for us. Our friends are drawing it out for us. Our family has drawn out for us. It might look like something completely different. And we need that. And we need to be brave enough to accept what we're manifesting in this new light of complete authenticity and alignment with your true core self. It takes bravery, and it really takes a very, love for yourself to do that. So it's not always going to look like what we think it should look. Our manifestation is creative life force in action. In order to manifest, the anatomical body, this physical body, has to be in harmony, in balance, which means that you don't have parts of you that are fighting inside or in resistance to one another. And it means that your feminine, masculine is in balance, your perception of those two. And that you're in the flow. You're not in a place of strict resistance or control. Remember that. You're not in a state of having to control everything. Because if you're controlling outcomes, you're not really being in that fluid state of creation. That's not the way the laws of creation works. Just look at nature. In nature, everything goes. Every part is doing what it needs to do without questioning what it's doing. And everything flows as needed. Even if there's death involved, it flows as needed. We as humans have to reach that wisdom. And we have to learn from nature that the more of us that come into that state, oh my gosh, we are really collectively bringing ourselves into a state of, this symbiotic creation and balance and coherence is the word. Coherence with all living things around us. That's the ultimate expression of the human race.
Geraldine, we're down to 1 minute with you, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
It's flown on by.
Yes,
I want to say thank you once again for coming on Spaced Out Radio. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. It was such a gift. And just in this last minute, I'm just going to give little invitations. On Thursday, I'm having a premiere of one of the hypnosis sessions that I've done this past week with some really important information about what's happening this year. So if you guys want to catch that, you can find it on Alba Weinman's YouTube channel. That's Thursday at 6 o'clock. And tomorrow night, I'm doing a special online live with Higher Circuit, which is my startup, with all healers that are looking for clients and clients that are looking for healers. It's a database at higherhealing.com. So I'm really excited, and I hope you guys check out my website. I have some exciting retreats coming up this year and some conferences as well. So, Dave, thank you so much, okay?
Always a pleasure. GeraldineOrozco.com is Geraldine's website, BayAreaMeditation.com as well. Coming up next, we are going to join Vancouver. We're going to go right across Canada and join the shift. We're going to be talking about UFOs. Harvard professor Avi Loeb as well. We have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Another brilliant show, Geraldine.
Oh, David, thank you so much. I had so much fun chatting with you. Thank you for your amazing questions.
Oh, anytime.
And,
we love you.
I love you too. I'll see you next month.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon, too, about the website.
Yeah. Talk to me anytime. All right. Much
love.
love.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Love her. Love her. She's kind of cool. I'm a fan of hers. Big time fan. What am I needing to do here? I need to find Shirky Poo's news. So that way I got that. Make sure all of these are muted again, so that way I don't get a blasted, whatchamacallit. Yeah, I hate when that happens. What else do I need? Better switch that over. Forgot to do that. That show went fast with Geraldine. Very fast. By the way, sucks Canada lost tonight. The U.S. Pissed off about that. Make sure that's right. Hello, Dave here.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio Dave. How's it going tonight?
Good. Don't forget to say hello to our YouTube people.
Hello, Spaced Out YouTubers and fans of the Woo out there. Yeah, you're in for a real treat, as always, with Dave.
Oh, yes. Hey, we picked up a new radio station today in Arizona.
No way.
Yeah. Kind of excited.
That's really cool, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can't get a damn whatchamacallit with in Canadian land here. Sure as hell could get something else with the whole American side.
Well, that's good news, man. That's really awesome, dude.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Shane
great, man. That's
Shane tonight, right?
Yeah, Shane tonight. Yeah. Well, that's really good news so far for Dave in 2021. I got to tell you.
Oh yeah, it's been a good day.
Excellent, man. All right. Well, we'll be linking up with you soon here around 36 or so.
Sure. Yeah, and we're going the normal time, right?
Yeah, normal time. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Talk to you in a bit. This is cool. I'm ready. Hey, Sovereign Farts, rip one for me if you don't mind. You're due.
We're here for the night owls.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. This show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking up to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We're going to join Vancouver.
You
Shane
ever
in the
notice that
ship.
he's always 15 seconds late, right, on purpose? Like, he's always 15 seconds late.
Always.
Because then he gets his promo in on the show. Like, this is how smart Dave Scott is.
Well, I'm just surprised you guys mic'd me up that early.
Well, it's turned into a bet. We've got a full-on betting system going on here about what you're going to promo. And it's like Sports Select, except it's like Spaced Out Radio Select.
I know. It's all about aliens and ghosts in the woo, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's about making money, brother, apparently. Welcome to the show. Happy New Year, Dave Scott.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. It's been a wonderful day. It's been a wonderful start to the year so far, much brighter than 2020, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this year goes. If the first few days have been any result, I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds intriguing. Before we got to 2021, over the holidays, there was some exciting activity going on with some lights in the sky. And it happens to be in one of my favorite places in the entire world. Can you share us a little bit of the story for those who don't know about the lights over Honolulu?
You know what? We're going to have some fun with this one. Okay? So I have not only talked about this on the air with Spaced Out Radio, but also I had one of my insiders within the U.S. government who sometimes every now and again we have a conversation. He says the military and the government agencies are looking into this one very, very seriously. So here's what happened. Okay, last Tuesday, there was this so-called unidentified flying object spotted by dozens of people soaring over Hawaii. Police were called. The Federal Aviation Administration, otherwise known as the FAA, was called. And the mysterious object looked like a telephone pole, but it was this really cool blue color. And it was hovering there, glowing in the sky. It looked like something was wrapping around it. It wasn't really moving that much. And it was caught on tape. And the lady who caught it is like blown away that she was able to get it, and they were able to follow it until it went right down to the ocean and seemed to disappear underneath the water. And this story is absolutely phenomenal because there is pretty clear tape of it. Now, when she zooms in, honestly, it looks like a giant blue Cheeto. It does. Maybe that's what we could nickname this one, the Blue Cheeto. But I honestly believe that this one is something weird. And let me tell you why, if you don't mind. Back on April 10th, 2014, I walked outside into my friend's backyard in the dark woods of Mission, British Columbia. And I actually saw a UFO with its lights on 150 yards away from me. And I could never describe the blue of this blue cylinder that was standing vertically out of the ground, about 20 to 30 feet high. And, yes, I've gone through, just for correction for your audience, yes, I know the questions. Were you drunk? Were you high? The answer is no to both. All right? But the big thing with this is that blue that I saw in the forest that day was almost identical to the blue on this Hawaii UFO. And I've never seen that blue
first time
since.
You've seen that blue? Oh, really? Okay, that was what I was going to ask you. Like, have you been able to identify it and recognize that color of blue since you saw it the first time?
I'd never seen the blue. The only blue that seemed to come pretty close to it was when you have the blue emergency lights on a police car. That's the closest, right? Those LED lights. That was the closest. But this one here, I mean, the way it slowly, in full control, heads straight to the ocean. This is what's a little bit amazing. Now, we can call it a UFO because it is an unidentified flying object, Shane. What we cannot call it is whether or not it's of alien descent. Now, if it hit the water and all of a sudden started moving underwater, which we have no proof of, well, that's a little bit weird. Let's just be honest. I mean, this could be anything. From what talking to my government source in the U.S., this was something that caught them very much on guard. Okay, the FAA reported nothing anomalous or any type of airplane or commercial airliner or military jet in trouble. There was no flames. There was no engine sounds. Nothing. Now, one hypothesis on this was that in a lot of places, hang gliders who like to go out at night are starting to illuminate up their sail. So the big question is, if this is human, is that what we're looking at? But right now, we don't know. And all the witnesses will say that after this one went under and into the ocean, which wouldn't be good for a hang glider, by the way, there was another light in the sky, a white orb that was floating around where this blue cylinder, if we could call it that, was hiding. Or not hiding, pardon me, was hanging out in the sky before heading down in a controlled motion to the ocean. So, were there two UFOs? Was it maybe a drone for that white light that was following a night hang glider? We don't know as of this moment.
So, question then. There's 50,000 military people stationed in Hawaii.
Yes.
There is an awful lot of aircraft. There's the Wheeler Army Field, like you name it. There's, of course, the old Pearl Harbor stuff, which is not so much, active anymore. But there's Air Force, there is Navy, there is Army. It's all there. 50,000 military folks. So wouldn't it make sense that at some point in all of that they would have some answers in the military? I mean, it's kind of a scary notion to think that things are flying over a place like that and nobody seems to know what it is.
Well, this was the response I got from my insider today. And I'm pulling it up on my phone right now. He says, I am told the U.S. government is tracking this event very interestingly, but I've also been told that this was a missile defensive system. Okay. Where was everything else? And if this was a missile defensive system, usually a missile defensive system is another missile going into the sky. I could be wrong because I'm not part of the military. All right, but if this was...
logic says that, I agree.
But let's face it, we know government cover-ups. We've seen it for years in this. Now, we could say it's a UFO, or we could take the government for their word, or the military for their word, and saying this was something else. But remember, Roswell was a weather balloon after it was reported that a spaceship had crashed. There's not much trust there.
Well, it doesn't. This is why there's not much trust there. I mean, because one of two things is going on: either somebody doesn't have a handle on what's flying over the island, or someone's not telling anybody what's going on.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. And the United States Navy is not going to give up any more information than they don't have to. But the interesting part about it is, in 180 days, or under that now, probably around 175 days, we're going to have to see what happens in June when the UAP task force has to release the files to the public about UFOs. Will this one be in there? We don't know. There's logical answers for a lot of things, but sometimes it's the illogical that we're searching for.
For anybody who's wondering, because I share on the show that I am a big fan of Hawaii in general, right? So it was Nanakuli on the west side of Oahu where it was spotted. And if you ever get to go to that side of the island, there are some real sketch areas. There are some really great areas. There's quite a few tent cities around there as well. But in Nanakuli, there is the Sack and Save in Nanakuli, great little local grocery store. There's also the Aloha sub there, and it's worth a sandwich, just saying, if you ever go, if we ever are allowed to travel.
Well, I mean, you have to be voted into politics to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, so there's not another election for a couple of years before anybody can go back to Hawaii.
Yes, exactly. Who isn't burned up by that right now? I'm just steaming over that, but that's a different conversation.
It is, everyone. And I tell you, for all the listeners, everybody out there, you know what? Can I have my soapbox for 1 second?
Please do.
So you know what all that has in common with your audience and Spaced Out Radio? And we talked about it here on the show, is that the conspiracy theories that about all the things, whether it's the COVID, the government, the tinfoil hats, the UFOs, the conspiracy theories. And I don't mean like people that have done their research and tried to figure it out and they have ideas and they go about it the right way. I'm talking contagious conspiracy theories, the gossip. They get exaggerated when governments do stuff like that. That's the problem. You run into that in the show, and we run into that as voting citizens as well. And that's what this all has in common between the two shows is that when governments behave the way that they behave with all the travel things, that's where we both get stonewalled because that's what causes people to lose trust in ways where we shouldn't. And so, that does nothing for anybody who's trying to do research into the stuff you talk about or the stuff that we talk about. So anyway, soapbox done. Thank you very much.
No, that was beautiful.
It's Stonewall.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it's Stonewall for all of us, and it sucks.
But remember though, I'm going to take that soapbox for a quick second here, if you don't mind. The UFO world proved that conspiracy theorists sometimes are right.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying when I say conspiracy theories, I mean like the full-on agenda-driven, like the really weird, no research behind it. I don't mean the people that go out and do their research and go about things like investigative stuff. I just mean the gossip stuff.
Oh, yeah. Gotta look. Yeah, good juice.
They all get thrown into this one bucket, right? And they get thrown into this one bucket, and it's unfair for everybody, especially people that do all kinds of hard work and step into that stuff. All right.
Let's move on.
So how about the Harvard dude, Avi, and the arrival of the aliens coming? Because that was an interesting story that you shared with me. I thought you could share that with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Avi Loeb is one of the most brilliant astronomers out there. He is a professor at Harvard University. And do you remember back in 2017 when there was this big rocky cigar-shaped object named Oumuamua that came into our atmosphere? Well, Loeb...
Yeah, that was kind of the root of all the cigar talk, really, wasn't it?
Well, some of it. Well, Loeb took a lot of heat from his colleagues because he believed this was something extraterrestrial, not just a rock flying through our universe. This was something a little bit more than just that. All right? So he has a new book coming out where he gets into this and basically says he now is convinced that this is going to be the first of many that come through our atmosphere. And he believes this could be anything from just space rocks, maybe from a planet or from another solar system that is broken up, much like we have asteroids in our solar system and we have meteors. Or it could be something more like space garbage from a planet that blew up. Or maybe it is a spaceship because, remember, we can only assume this was a giant rock. There are no pictures of Oumuamua. None. It's just a satellite image that they put on a good graphic designer came out and said, okay, this is what we think it looks like. But now he's saying that there's going to be more interstellar objects coming out, and we should be ready for it. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, could this be that we are preparing for more? And could we be opening up and setting up everybody on this planet that the word extraterrestrial, even though it may not mean aliens, actually means something more, that we are going to start seeing more of these type of incidents happen over the decades, the next few decades, before maybe we actually do find life elsewhere.
Are we way too inside the box when we think of this like like it's a shiny spaceship that sits down and then opens up and a dude with two legs walks out? Like, are we way too inside the box in thinking that aliens would even look like that? And maybe that this space rock is an example of what a UFO would look like?
Look, at first, when they had the image, they weren't sure, and many scientists out there still are not sure whether or not it was a rock or if it was a spaceship flying by. Like I said, there was no photographs of this. If you believe the experiencers who have had extraterrestrial phenomena happen in front of them, they will tell you that there could be creatures on there that walk with two legs, two arms, three fingers, one thumb on each hand, and, literally paralyze you in your bedroom and then take you and zap you through a wall or a window and take you up to the ship, do a little dancing, put on a bunch of Rick Astley over and over on replay, if not Coldplay, do horrid things to you while you have to listen to the horrid music, and then you come back to your bed and say, wow, that was a terrible dream. So we really don't know what is actually traveling out there. What we do know is there are things happening. There are many interesting involvements happening with the governments of the U.S. now that they have their UAP task force in for funding in their latest budget. We have a lot of cool things coming up in the UFO world, and Avi Loeb, I believe, is credible enough to say, we don't know what this thing is. We need to find out because there's probably more coming.
Dave Scott, spacedoutradio.com. You want to check out all of his stuff and the hard work and research that they put into the show every day. Happy New Year, brother. It's great to hear your voice.
Always
and
a
let's
pleasure.
make 2021 amazing.
You too, my friend.
And to all your listeners, too.
We'll talk to you
Thanks
next
for being
week,
here with
my
us.
friend.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Right on. Dave.
Speaking of the news, let's do this thing. Is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show. We're getting to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the naked. Oh, this horrible story here. Two fishermen have rescued a naked fugitive who was found clinging to the trees over a crocodile-infested swamp in northern Australia. Kev Joyner and Cam Foss stumbled across the man in East Point near the city of Darwin. The friends were laying crab traps when they heard the man crying for help. Yeah, I would be too. Clinging to the branches of mangroves. They said the man begged them for water and said he had been out there for 4 days living off of snails. Australian TV network 9 News said the 40-year-old man had allegedly breached bail for armed robbery. We didn't believe him at first. Then we realized he was in a bad way and done himself a mischief, and we were like, oh, we better help him. Mr. Foz said the man told them that he went out on New Year's Eve to a concert, adding, we thought he had a big night. The fishermen allowed the man to hop on board their boat. Mr. Foz offered him some shorts to cover his modesty. He had all the scratches all over him. He was completely covered in mosquito bites, mud all over his face and chest. He was suffering pretty bad. The friend said the man was lucky they found him, as the mangroves in East Point can be dangerous. Crocodiles are known to inhabit the swamps around Darwin. And while ferrying him to shore, the fisherman shared a beer with the man and called the ambulance, which met them at the boat ramp. He has been arrested, and who knows what's going to happen to him now. All right, moving on. I think we got time for one more quick one here. Well, we finally know what turns your hair white. What about beards? Yes, a 22-year-old woman witnessed a tragedy and, ended up going white-haired. So this study shows that they've identified the optimal way to make... What is this? Where is the story here? Oh, my goodness. You know what? Heck with that. Let's just go straight to the thought of the day, because sometimes we can be a little bit rebellious here. You're due. Anthony, work on being more financially secure. Dave, nope. My 21 resolution is to be better. And at the moment, I am far in a better place than I have been in for several years. Managing depression is not easy, but I am learning and I am getting better. Congratulations, Davey. That is great news. Great news. Yes, we love talking depression and anxiety around here because it doesn't need to be a secret. And when you talk about it, it heals you. Sherry, mine was to give up Diet Pepsi. The caffeine headache did it me in. Scott, to take over Spaced Out Radio and turn it into a children's talent show. Oh, my. Krista, no resolutions, just whatever makes me happy. I'll have a tall order of that in 2021. Why not? And we'll see if we squeeze a couple more in here. Heidi, mine is to accept our alien overlords. Very nice. Nicholas, years ago my resolution was to stop making them. Still kicking ass. Kevin gets the final one. I've never made one. Always try to be the best version of me. Thank you, Kevin and Kevin's Beard, everyone who participated in the Thought of the Day. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire, Shane at the Shift, and, of course, Geraldine Orozco for an amazing night of the Spiritual You. Geraldine, once again, will be back next month. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar.
Do it yourself doesn't have to mean all by yourself. Help is as close as homedepot.com/workshops, now with free DIY live stream workshops. Live hands-on courses from real expert associates. Learn how to install floor tile, create a tile backsplash, replace a thermostat, and more. All from the best seat in the house, yours. To register, go to homedepot.com/workshops. Only from the Home Depot. How doers get more done.